Philippine Times.
For the headlines,
the Philippines and Israel on Monday inked several agreements during President Rodrigo Duterte's official visit.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Tuesday ordered the arrest of a lawmaker fiercely critical of his deadly drug war, the second presidential critic from the Senate to be threatened with detention.
U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Syria against launching an attack on the country's last rebel stronghold with the help of Russia and Iran, saying the offensive could trigger a human tragedy.
And 2 dead as strongest typhoon in quarter century batters Japan.
Camera wherever you are watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mariel Soriano.
The Philippines and Israel on Monday inked several agreements during President Rodrigo Duterte's official visit. Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano, representing the Philippine government, signed the Memorandum of Understanding on Scientific Cooperation. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, for his part, signed the Memorandum of Intent on the Collaboration of Bilateral Direct Investment, while Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III signed a Memorandum of Agreement which the palace said aims to reduce placement fees for caregivers who want to work in Israel. Duterte and his counterpart, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, witnessed the signing of the 3 agreements.
We remember the exceptional role of the Philippines that received Jewish refugees during the Holocaust. We remember that the Philippines was the only Asian country that voted for the establishment of the State of Israel in the UN resolution in 1947.
In connection to this, President Rodrigo Duterte visited Israel's Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem and said he hoped the world learned lessons from the horrific period in history when more than 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by the Nazis. Duterte, the first Philippine president to visit Israel, signed the memorial's guestbook and also read out what he wrote, saying, "May the world learn the lessons of this horrific and benighted period of human history," referring to the Holocaust period of World War II.
I may the minds of all men and women learn to work together towards providing a safe haven for all who are being persecuted.
The Holocaust was Nazi Germany's military campaign that included the systematic mass murder of the Jewish people in German-occupied Europe during World War II from 1939 to 1945. Duterte visited the Holocaust Memorial together with his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio, who is of Jewish descent. The Philippine leader earlier said that his wife, Elizabeth Zimmerman, and her family were among the Jews who escaped persecution from Europe during World War II and found sanctuary in the Philippines.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte on Tuesday ordered the arrest of a lawmaker fiercely critical of his deadly drug war, the second presidential critic from the Senate to be threatened with detention. Senator Antonio Trillanes, who is holed up in the Senate to avoid arrest, has also in the past accused Duterte of corruption and his son of involvement in drug dealing, drawing a pledge of revenge from the president. Opposition politicians immediately condemned the arrest order as political. They compared it with the arrest of Senator and Duterte critic Leila de Lima, who is behind bars on what she says are false drug charges. Trillanes' arrest order stems from an amnesty granted in 2010 over his involvement in a coup attempt against then-President Gloria Arroyo and another effort to overthrow her. The armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police are ordered to employ all lawful means to apprehend Trillanes. The government said Duterte has canceled the pardon because Trillanes, a former Navy officer, did not complete the requirements of filling an official application and admitting guilt. Duterte also wants Trillanes put on trial for his brief takeover of a Manila hotel in 2007 after he and several armed followers seized the hotel and demanded Arroyo's resignation. Trillanes told reporters he has instructed his lawyers to study ways to void this stupid executive order, adding it has no basis whatsoever.
Ito is isang malaking kalokohan, ano? Alam niyo po, hindi naman ako bibigyan ng amnesty kung hindi ako nag-comply sa mga requirements. Sumumpa ako kay former Secretary of Defense Voltaire Casmin at mapapatutuhanan yan ng mga DND officials. So, absolutely complied lahat yan. Yung mga kaso sa civilian courts, na-dismiss yan. So ngayon, ano ang ngayon ang magiging basis ng pag-aresto?
The House Committee on Justice on Tuesday, September 4, found the impeachment complaints filed against now Chief Justice Teresita De Castro and other justices who voted to oust Maria Lourdes Sereno as Chief Magistrate sufficient in form. 21 members voted to approve the motion to find sufficiency in form in the complaints filed by opposition lawmakers led by Representative Edsel Lagman against De Castro. SC Justices Diosdado Peralta, Lucas Bersamin, Andres Reyes, Francis Hardeleza, Noel Tiham, and Alexander Hesmundo. The 7 SC Justices have been charged with culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust. Sereno was ousted in May after the Supreme Court en banc granted the quo warranto petition filed against her by the Solicitor General.
U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Syria against launching an attack on the country's last rebel stronghold with the help of Russia and Iran, saying the offensive could trigger a human tragedy. The warning came as Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met with the Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad in a surprise visit to Damascus ahead of the looming offensive. Syrian forces are amassing around the northwestern province of Idlib and in preparation for the assault. President Bashar al-Assad of Syria must not recklessly attack Idlib province. The Russians and Iranians would be making a grave humanitarian mistake to take part in this potential human tragedy, Trump tweeted. The United Nations and aid groups have warned that a full assault on Idlib could spark a humanitarian catastrophe on a scale not yet seen in Syria's 7-year-old conflict. But Russia and Iran have insisted that extremist groups in Idlib must be defeated and are expected to back regime forces in any assault. Zarif's trip to war-ravaged Syria also comes just days before a top-level tripartite meeting in Tehran to discuss the Syrian conflict now in its 8th year. He met Assad to discuss issues on agenda for that tripartite meeting, according to the Syrian presidency's account on the Telegram messaging app. More news when Eagle News International returns.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort.
ng hapon.
Saan mo pwede i-report yung possible violation ng cybercrime prevention law?
Bakit puro yung mga guys ang nagpapakamatay, yung mga girls, parang wala na.
Kasi po bilang influencer, dapat hindi ka lang po talaga para sa sarili mo.
At nalang yata ambisyon nila magkaroon ng online business.
Ano yung step ko? Bakong bagay ang step mo?
Welcome back. New United Nations Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet said Monday she was shocked by Myanmar's jailing of 2 Reuters journalists for 7 years and called for their immediate release. The former Chilean president said she thinks the information the 2 journalists gave on the massacre was of public interest and that all the process, the trial, was a travesty of justice.
The mandate to promote and protect the human rights of everyone, everywhere, is essential. It's one of the 3 pillars of the United Nations system. And I know also that the victims, the defenders of human rights, are looking at me to support them, and I will do my best to be there when they need it.
French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian says France is ready to help Brazil after the National Museum in Rio was destroyed by fire.
Visite, je voudrais, en préambule, d'ici, de ce lieu aussi fort, exprimer la solidarité des autorités françaises face à l'incendie tragique qui a ravagé dimanche un autre lieu culturel d'exception, le Musée national de Rio de Janeiro.
Meanwhile, a deputy director at the museum, Luis Fernando Diaz Duarte, said profound discouragement and immense anger as the treasured institution burned, accusing Brazilian authorities of a lack of attention. He said the museum, a former palace that was once the official residence of the Portuguese royal family, had always lacked necessary support. The fire comes as campaigning for October's critical presidential vote gets underway, one of the most uncertain Brazilian elections in decades. Senator Lindbergh Farias of the country's leftist Workers' Party blamed the institution's lack of funding on spending cuts ordered by the government.
Russian warplanes battered Syria's rebel-controlled Idlib on Tuesday for the first time in 3 weeks. A war monitor said as expectations mount of a government offensive in the northwestern province. Regime ally Moscow and rebel backer Ankara have held several rounds of talks aimed at averting an assault, but government troops have been massing near the rebel zone. Russian warplanes resumed bombing Idlib province after a 22-day pause, said Rami Abdelrahman, who heads the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The air raids came a day after rebel units in Idlib hit regime positions in neighboring Latakia province, which killed the 3 pro-regime fighters, said Abdelrahman. Abdelrahman could not immediately provide a death toll for the strikes.
In other news, Argentina's President Mauricio Macri announced was slashing his government's bureaucracy in half and restoring taxes on grain exporters as part of sweeping new austerity measures to stabilize the economy. The center-right president admitted in a speech to the nation that Argentina was facing an emergency after its currency, the peso, lost more than half its dollar value this year. He pledged a pared-down government following cuts that would see the number of ministries slashed from 22 to 10 in an effort to save money, demoting more than half of his ministers. The move had little immediate effect on the market, slipping back near the record lows of last week. closing 2.7% lower at 39.04 to the dollar. Thousands of laid-off government workers took to the streets of Buenos Aires to protest the government's austerity program.
La verdad que había que salir porque si no te morís de una úlcera. Algo hay que decir, algo hay que hacer. Y el ruido, además de todo, es una descarga, no solo una expresión.
The founder of the Haqqani Network, one of Afghanistan's most effective and feared militant groups, has died after a long illness, their allies, the Afghan Taliban, announced Tuesday. Jalaluddin Haqqani, whose son Sirajuddin Haqqani now heads the brutal group and is also the Taliban's deputy leader, died after a long battle with illness, the Taliban said in a statement. Jalaluddin was from among the great distinguished jihadi personalities of this era, the Taliban said in the English version of its statement posted on Twitter.
Two dead as strongest typhoon in quarter century batters Japan. Typhoon Jebi, packing winds of up to 216 kilometers per hour, made landfall around midday in western Japan near areas still recovering from deadly record rains earlier this summer. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe urged people to evacuate early and ordered his government to take all necessary measures to protect residents. Japan's weather agency has issued warnings about possible landslide, flooding, and violent winds as well as high tides, lightning and tornadoes in a swath of western Japan, including the major cities of Osaka and Kyoto. With winds of up to 162 kilometers per hour as its center, Jebi is classed as a very strong typhoon according to the weather agency chief forecaster Ryuta Kurora. Evacuation advisories have been issued for more than 300,000 people in western Japan, including 280,000 in the port city of Kobe. With local officials setting up some 1,500 shelters, the central and local government said in statements. Primary and middle schools in affected areas are closed for safety reasons, while regional businesses also reacted quickly, with a major railway firm and Universal Studios Japan in Osaka shutting down for Tuesday. Nearly 600 flights were cancelled, including several international flights departing and arriving at Nagoya and Osaka, along with ferries connecting ports in western Japan.
The news continues here on Eagle News International.
We'll be right back.
TV ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. bata para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Grabe, rated SPG, maselan!
Higpitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times.
Welcome back. Indian President Ramnath Kovind visits Cyprus and meets with Cypriot President Nikos Anastasiades to sign agreements between the two countries. Cyprus and India have signed Memorandum of Understanding to extend their cooperation in economy, investments, and tourism and diplomacy. Reforms in the UN Security Council was also discussed along with a Memorandum of Understanding to combat money laundering.
We discussed the issue of the UN reform, on which we agreed to the need to ensure that the Security Council continues to play an effective role in maintaining international peace and security as envisaged in the UN Charter.
We welcomed the signing of the MOU between Financial Intelligence Unit, India and Unit for Combating Money Laundering of Cyprus. This agreement would further strengthen the institutional framework to facilitate investment cross flows. We expressed deep concern at the grave threat that terrorism poses to humanity and called for developing a strong global response to defeat and destroy this evil.
Turkey reported its highest inflation rate in 15 years, fueled by a spectacular drop in the Turkish lira, as analysts predicted that worse is probably to come. Consumer prices rose 17.9% in August from the same month in the previous year, their highest increase since late 2003, up from 15.85% in July, according to the Turkish Statistics Office. Increasing pressure on the central bank to hike interest rates. The figure was higher than the Bloomberg consensus forecast of 17.6%. The lira was worth 6.6 against the US dollar, a loss of nearly 1.5% on the day, rallying slightly after the central bank's indication that it would act at the next Monetary Policy Committee meeting on September 13. The highest annual rise in the month was in the cost of transport, up to 27.13%, while prices for food and non-alcoholic drinks were up 9.75%.
Hissedilmez mi ablacığım ya? Aldığımız paranın kimisini şimdi harcamak gerekiyor ama maaşlar yerinde duruyor. Nasıl olacak bu? Daha kötü olacak durumlar. Çok zor vallahi.
Irish low-cost airline Ryanair began flying to Ukraine, launching a new route between Kiev and Berlin that will operate 4 times a week. The Kiev-Berlin return flight became the first of 12 new routes Ryanair, Europe's busiest carrier, announced from the Ukrainian capital. The low-coster will also be flying from Kiev to Barcelona, Berlin, Bratislava, Bydgoszcz, Gdansk, Krakow, London, Poznan, Stockholm, Vilnius, Warsaw, and Wrocław. Some 635,000 customers would use the routes annually, as Ryanair predicted in a statement.
Pacific leaders opened their annual diplomatic summit in Nauru. Nauru President Baron Waka formally welcomed delegates to the 18-nation Pacific Islands Forum, saying the summit was a chance to demand the world take urgent action on global warming. However, when the Nauruan leader faced a rape grilling from the media, questions centered on the plight of those detained on the remote island under an agreement with Australia. A report released Monday said that the mental health of asylum seekers was buckling under the strain of indefinite detention, adding that those who have seen this suffering say it is worse than anything they have seen, including in war zones. The report estimates there are 900 asylum seekers on Nauru, including more than 100 children. The summit will continue until Thursday, with delegates expected to issue a communique calling for action on climate change. Other issues on the agenda include regional security, fighting obesity in the world's fattest region, and China's rising influence in the region. Eagle News International will be returned.
Stay tuned.
Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
Tropical cyclone o bagyo. Ang bagyo ay isang uri ng lagay na panahon na nagdudulot ng malalakas at mabibilis na hangin at pag-ulan na maaaring maging sanhi ng matitinding pagbaha, daluyong ng dagat at pag-uho ng lupa. Narito ang mga dapat gawin bago dumating ang bagyo. Una, alamin ang balita ukol sa panahon at mga anunsyong pangkaligtasan. Alamin ang plano ng komunidad sa pagbibigay babala at paglikas. Suriin ang bahay at kumpunihin ang mga mahina at sirang bahagi. Ihanda ang go bag na naglalaman ng mga pangangailangan ng pamilya. Ilikas ang mga alagang hayop sa ligtas na lugar. Kapag inabisuhan ang kinauukulan, mabilis na lumikas sa itinakdang evacuation center. Narito naman ang mga dapat gawin habang may bagyo. Una, maging mahinahon. Manatili sa loob ng bahay o evacuation center at makinig sa pinakabagong balita at taya ng panahon. Patayin ang main switch ng kuryente at valve ng tubig. Gumamit ng flashlight o emergency lamp. Maging maingat sa paggamit ng kandila o gasera. Umiwas sa mga salaming bintana. Ito naman ang dapat gawin pagkatapos ng bagyo. Hintayin ang abiso ng kinauukulan na ligtas ng bumalik sa tahanan. Umiwas sa mga natumbang puno, nasirang gusali at linya ng kuryente. Huwag gumala upang hindi maabala ang mga emergency services. Siguraduhing walang basa o nakababad na outlet o kagamitan bago buksan ang linya ng kuryente. Itapon ang mga naipong tubig sa lata, paso at gulong upang hindi pamahayan ng lamok.
Simulan na ang araw kasama ang buong barkada ng Pambansang Almusal. Kami na ang bahala sa masarap niyong almusal kung saan matututo tayong magluto ng easy, delicious, and affordable recipes kasama ang ating guest chefs.
Siyempre, I want it medyo healthy pa rin na wala tayong masyadong fats or skin ng ating chicken.
Of course, meron din tayong family notes where we share tips and ideas on how to make our family happier and stronger.
Dapat marunong tayo mag-open up, di ba? Lalo na sa ating parents.
Tandaan, discipline should focus on teaching, not punishing.
Yes. Ihahain din namin sa inyo ang maiinit na balita at mahahalagang impormasyon.
Para po yun sa ikabubuti ng ating kapaligiran.
Ano yung journey natin towards the 100 years?
Kaya naman, tutok na sa nag-iisang values-oriented morning show.
Pambansang Almusal!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga, dito lang sa Net 25.
Ang Pambansang Almusal, Pambansang Almusal.
There were no students on the first day of school in Mangina, the epicenter of the latest Ebola epidemic in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Health Ministry reports the death toll from an outbreak of Ebola in the area has risen to 75. It said in all 111 cases of hemorrhagic fever have been reported in the area. The ministry recorded 47 deaths among 83 confirmed cases, plus another 28 likely due to Ebola. Most of them occurring before the authorities declared an epidemic on August 1. No new cases have been reported since Sunday, when the death toll was given as 67. The latest outbreak of Ebola is in North Kivu province.
Bon, nous souhaitons que les affaires viennent. Nous allons patienter cette semaine. Nous allons continuer avec la sensibilisation. Et nous allons voir à la fin de la semaine ce qui pourra nous réserver l'avenir.
Rat fever and other diseases have killed 14 people in the southern Indian state of Kerala after the worst floods in almost a century, authorities said Tuesday. The separate death toll from the monsoon floods that forced more than 1 million people from their homes in Kerala last month has meanwhile risen to 486, the government said. Kerala Health Director said they had anticipated leptospirosis due to contaminated water and are taking all measures to distribute preventive drugs in camps. Leptospirosis, transmitted in water containing urine from rodents and other animals, has killed 6 people and infected more than 100, while other diseases have left 8 dead. Cases of malaria, dengue fever, and chickenpox have also been reported. More than 5,100 people have acute diarrhea, authorities said. The flood waters have now receded and fewer than 10,000 people remain in temporary camps, down from 1.4 million at the height of the crisis.
In tennis, Roger Federer and Maria Sharapova crashed out of the US Open on Monday in back-to-back seismic shocks under the Arthur Ashe Stadium lights. Federer, the five-time champion and looking to end his 10-year wait to add to his total in New York, has beaten by Australia's world number 55 Jan Millman 3-6, 7-5, 7-6, 7-6. It was 20-time major winner Federer's first loss against a player outside the top 50 in 41 meetings at the US Open. He finished with 77 unforced errors and 10 double faults. It was the world number 2's earliest defeat at the tournament since a fourth-round loss to Tommy Robredo in 2013. The result meant there would be no quarterfinal showdown with old rival Novak Djokovic, who will now face Millman instead. Sharapova, the 2006 champion, suffered a second successive last 16 exit in New York, blasted off court by Carlos Suarez Navarro. The Spanish player marked her 30th birthday in style with a memorable 6-4, 6-3 win over the five-time major champion whose last slam title was in Paris in 2014. Federer had cruised through the first set against Millman, who was appearing in his maiden last 16 at the majors. But the Swiss, who lost in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon, where he was defending champion, began to look every bit the 37-year-old he is as he struggled in the suffocating humidity. He squandered 2 set points in the second set and another in the third set tie breaks as the errors piled up. Federer was a 4-2 up in the fourth set but was reeled in, and 2 back-to-back double faults sent him 1-4 down in the tie break. In another story, former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick is part of a new Nike campaign to mark the 30th anniversary of the sporting equipment giant's iconic "Just Do It" slogan, reports said on Monday. Kaepernick, who triggered a political firestorm after kneeling during the U.S. national anthem in 2016 to protest racial injustice, has not played in the NFL since early 2017. The 30-year-old is suing the NFL, claiming he has been frozen out of the league by team owners because of his activism. The new Nike adverts, which were unveiled just days before the kickoff of the 2018 NFL season, show a portrait of Kaepernick with the slogan, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything." Kaepernick posted the advert on his Twitter account, followed by "Just Do It." Nike had kept Kaepernick, who signed a sponsorship deal with the company in 2011, on its payroll throughout the controversy of recent years. The advert comes just days after Kaepernick was cheered by spectators when he appeared alongside fellow player and activist Eric Reed at the US Open tennis tournament to watch Serena Williams on Friday. Kaepernick's protests have become a bitterly divisive issue amongst NFL fans after President Donald Trump reignited the controversy. In June, Trump canceled the visit of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to the White House after several players indicated they would not attend. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez and I'm 1 with 25.
The London Design Biennale launches at Somerset House, showcasing talent from 40 countries, showing how design affects every aspect of life. Artistic director Christopher Turner said the designs will explore the emotional states of joy, stress, and sadness with works from around the world in an attempt to put an end to the Eurocentric understanding of design. Following 2016's inaugural event, the 2018 edition will take over the entirety of Somerset House. The Canadian installation will offer an immersive journey through its evocatively named cities, such as Hope and Happy Adventure. The Beirut contributions offer visitors a silent room where they rest, isolated from outside noise and the sensory overload of the city. The event also gives a special space to the refugees under the theme Stateless Persons. The public will be able to visit a shelter with the aim that they can better empathize with them and understand the the privileges of life.
Thousands gather in the German town of Chemnitz for an anti-racism concert. The free concert, with several German bands, takes place to say no to the far right, which has staged nationalist demonstrations after a fatal stabbing, allegedly by 2 foreigners. Earlier, Chancellor Angela Merkel had urged Germans to mobilize against hate. Merkel's call was echoed by Foreign Minister Heiko Maas, who told Germans to stand and speak against xenophobia. It's not about a fight pitting left against right, but everyone with normal decency, regardless of their political stripe, standing up against the far-right mob, said Campino, the lead singer of punk band Die Toten Hasse.
Ich finde es gut, dass alle gekommen sind, um ein Zeichen gegen Rassismus zu setzen.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Mariel Soriano. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Judith Yomera and we are one with 25.